And that's on purpose. The nation of Canada has been suppressed on purpose. Its population is being killed off by the state. That country is being held down on purpose. And my question is, by whom and why?
Canada's broken, and Canada's broken because we're stupid. Okay? Canada's broken because we're stupid.
I've given our boys dolls, even if they tear the head off. I've given them dolls to learn that care and caregiving is not just an activity that's reserved for women, but that it's also an activity that is a responsibility of men. What I've done with both my daughters and my sons is, if I'm reading a book and the protagonist is a male, I just change the he to a she.
What?
And it just normalizes for my sons in particular.
Sure.
It's not even, I don't even just do it for my girls. I do it for my sons because I want them to see that women can be the center of a story, that women matter.
Yeah. Okay. Nuts. Oh.
Of course, we're taking note of what the prices of oil and gas are in the world right now. We know it's hurting Canadians, and at the same time, we are very much aware that there's a war in the Middle East. We also take note of President Trump's speech last night, and the Minister of Finance and the Prime Minister will be reacting to that shortly. I wanted to talk more about the announcement today, and I think it's important that the media cover this, and thank you for being here. There are two things that have been highlighted by Fiona and Tamir that we should bear in mind. First, we have the potential of creating great companies here if we have the right capital. And the issue in Canada for a long, long time has been that our companies are going south of the border because they have all the ideas, but they need to have access to capital. And so we have to change that trend. And we've been laser focused on making sure that we are able to provide the right capital through federal funding, but also through working with venture cap and different institutions here in the country. This is a call to action to Canadian business to invest in our entrepreneur and our researchers. And that is why we wanted to fast track this announcement and fast track the decision making, because Tamir and Fiona need predictability. And why is that also super important? It is happening at a time where the US is changing its position on life science and pharma. And we have to be ready to be able to react accordingly. We need to be able to onshore many of the really important parts of our pharma needs, life sciences needs. We saw it during COVID. Accelera was fundamental in that context. But I must say, coming from another part of the country, what is going on here in BC is phenomenal. You have stem cell and Alan working for years on life-changing technology. We have Accelera, we have Aspect, we have Cardium. The amount of companies here that are being developed is actually fascinating. And so we want to keep companies in BC. We want to have more jobs in BC. And so you can count on me as an ally, because we will make sure that we work on this together.
Gas prices soaring. Conservatives are calling for some relief at the pump. Leader Pierre Poilievre wants the government to remove gas taxes for the rest of the year. Poilievre has a solution for paying for it, too, by cancelling the Alto high-speed rail project between Toronto and Quebec City.
I'm calling on the government to suspend all fuel taxes for the rest of the year. We call on the government to fund this zero tax on gas proposal by cutting wasteful spending and the $90 billion Alto train disaster.
When they recently made this ban.
I got to meet Castro one time.
So
Did I
here
tell you
it
that?
is. No, I want to hear that, but one second. But data provided by Public Safety Canada shows that of March 27, 32,406 people signed up to participate in the program. They declared a total of 57,440 firearms, roughly 42% of what was projected. But they were talking about, oh, you know who has it on this page is Coleon Noir. He has it here. I'll send it to you because
We got to do this in Memphis, dude.
it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, you can't let them take away your weapons.
No.
Because how will you fight?
How will you fight? That's a very good question. Yeah, I saw Coleon's video. Here it is.
Gonna fight.
Yeah, this is it. Here, play this.
Type shit right here.
Numerous response? Cool. We're sending police to your house.
The declaration period for firearms owners is scheduled to end next week. So far, only 2.5% of the estimated 2 million affected firearms have been declared.
2%.
And 98% of firearms owners haven't made a declaration.
Canada banned 2,500 types of firearms, gave gun owners until March 31st, essentially today, to declare them. 1 week before the deadline, 2.5% compliance. 2.5. That's not a slow rollout. That's a full-on rejection.
So if they're not declaring by next week, what's your plan, Minister?
The plan we have is, as of March the 31st, the time to complete the enrollment will be done, and then the RCMP and other agencies will be available.
Our paper chipmunk.
Throughout the spring and the summer to do the collection.
The collection?
Wow. Do the collection.
Like he's speaking about dry cleaning, not firearms, not property that belonged to law-abiding citizens before the government decided
That's my friend
it didn't
Coleon.
anymore.
So, Minister, you're saying that RCMP members, we just heard an Auditor General report saying we're short 3,400 members. We're dealing with a wave of violent crime across this country. And you're saying that your plan is over the spring and the summer to deploy RCMP officers to go door-to-door to firearms owners and seize their firearms?
So this is a voluntary program, Mr. Lloyd, as you're aware. And the RCMP resources and the resources we will use with law enforcement does not contemplate in any way using existing resources. These are additional resources. So these are those who are off duty, those who may be retired.
Go back
I
to-
can ask them to do that.
They're going to take retired people to go door to door.
It's like their new ICE. There's
police officers door to door because,
What the fuck are they
frankly, many police forces across the country are refusing to participate in your
Even Americans are fed up with this shit.
program.
And here's the part that should make your
Good
jaw
for them.
hit the floor. The Minister of Public Safety, the guy running this entire program, was secretly recorded saying the gun grab isn't worth the money.
The Minister of Public Safety accidentally told the truth, and he was
Here, it's all coming out. Joe Rogan is exposing a lot.
recorded doing it. He said that the gun grab is not worth the money.
He doubts local police will have the resources to enforce the Liberals' mandatory gun buyback program and says the reason the Prime Minister is sticking with the policy is to appease voters in Quebec.
He privately admitted the police can't even
Look at his
enforce
face.
it. He said they're doing
The
it
face that they
to win
picked
votes.
in the
guy?
screenshot. Look at it.
Everybody makes fun of Gary, the paper chipmunk tiger.
This was
Face
never
behind him.
about
They
safety.
picked the worst
Go
It's
back to his
never-
name. Go back to his name. If you can, it was Anananadisidigidi.
Whatever his name
Well,
is.
here's what I'm saying.
I want him to go door to door.
Yeah.
You go door to door.
You go door to door and do this
You go
shit.
door to door, bitch.
But, dude,
you want
this-
to do that?
This
How
is-
about you do it? He's talking about getting retired people to go door to door and take people in. You're going to get someone shot, stupid.
Well, it's just like our draft now. They're like, now it's 42. Now it's 47. Now
And you
it's...
could have a marijuana arrest now.
Yeah, they're letting anybody in that bitch.
Hey,
dude.
little weed. What's the big
Yeah.
thing?
No problem.
Come on.
But, dude, here's the
What is C9 for those just tuning in and not up to speed?
Well, it was the government's attempt, after literally remaining on their hands and doing absolutely nothing since post-October 7, 2023. It was their attempt to start dealing with the rising levels of anti-Semitism in this country. And they claim they've been listening to religious leaders who wanted greater protections. Greater protections in terms of attending at their synagogues, attending at their mosques, attending at their temples. They wanted greater protection, more laws to provide policing with some clearer authority in which to ensure that they had the lawful way of getting from point A to point B, but not to be intimidated and harassed. So literally,
you mentioned Canada. Most Americans don't even know the capital of Canada. Canada does not appear on their radar, doesn't figure in their thoughts. But you described it as probably, quote, probably the richest country in the world. I think that's objectively true. And yet Canada is not a rich country. In fact, it's getting poorer. Its life expectancy is declining. Its GDP is declining. And that's on purpose. The the nation of Canada has been suppressed on purpose. Its population is being killed off by the state through its assisted suicide program, and its population is changing through mass immigration against the will of the population. So that country is being held down on purpose. And my question is, by whom and why?
Sure, that's a great question. And this is something that I struggle with all the time because I am a Canadian citizen. I went to school there. My answer is that Canada was never really a nation state. It's more of a glorified resource colony for the British, the city of London. And the reality is now that the British are under a lot of strain, the city of London is under a lot of financial pressure. It sees places like Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. And what do you do if you have financial issues? Well, you do corporate restructuring, right? You change the middle management, right? And historically, the British got along very well with the Indian elite, right? They went into India and stole trillions of dollars from the Indians, and the Indian elite were perfectly happy to help them, right? So why not use the same model for Australia, for Canada? So, there are millions of Indians who immigrated to Canada in the past 5 years, and it's put a lot of strain on the Canadian economy because housing prices are have exploded, and so ordinary Canadians can no longer afford to buy a house. And it's put tremendous pressure on the Canadian welfare system, on the Canadian economy. And you would think that the proper strategy would have a moratorium where they're like, you know what, we've had too many immigrants and we need to close the borders and absorb these immigrants because we want to ensure that these immigrants have proper housing, they have decent jobs, right? You would think that that'd be the right strategy.
Yes.
And instead, Mark Carney goes to India and says, we want more Indians. And also, we'll give you scholarships to come to Canada to study for free. Meanwhile, there are a lot of Canadians who are homeless, who are unemployed, and who cannot put food on the table. But hey, we want more Indians. So if it's not corporate restructuring, if it's not trying to asset strip Canada, I really don't understand the strategy for this.